Hi, today we're going to talk about a few estate planning tricks or trip ups, depending on if you get it right or you get it wrong.
Yep, exactly. So the first really big takeaway today is with specifically retirement accounts. So think IRAs or 401ks. You actually can list specific beneficiaries, and the probate process or the will is bypassed entirely. So those folks get the money directly.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, everyone knows about a will. You put it in a will. The will is what really decides when you die, who gets what, and where the stuff goes. Whenever you hear the term probate, that is just the government's process of looking at the will and officially stamping it as the official document to make sure it's not one that somebody else wrote up on a piece of paper to try to get your money. So once you go through probate, the will is finalized, and it's, for lack of a better term, I think, Chase, we could say certified by the government, which means now all institutions will use the will.
Right. So with retirement accounts, when you list your beneficiaries, you actually bypass that entire process.
That's right. Bypass meaning that they won't even look at the will.
Right.
The account that lists a beneficiary. So if I had an IRA, like you're talking about, and I listed Chase as my beneficiary, it doesn't matter what's in my will.
Right.
And you don't have to wait for probate, right, Chase?
Right.
It would just take, if I said Chase got 40%, he would get 40%. Now, if I didn't like Chase, I might put 1%.
Right.
So he just gets a little teeny sliver. He'd just get the 1%, and I could give the rest to somebody else, right? But the point is, it bypasses the will,
right?
Which is a great thing. Usually it's quicker to get your assets distributed.
Yep. And to that point, not only with retirement accounts is that the case, but also with any insurance products. So think maybe an annuity or a life insurance payout. Those bypass probate and the will, and quite frankly, in our experience, especially with life insurance, I would say those payouts get paid out, pretty quickly.
Very much sooner than probate's ever done.
Exactly.
For most cases. But remember, the other takeaway is anyone who is listening to this who has done a annuity or you've done a life insurance, you might remember them asking you, who are we going to list as the beneficiary? Who's going to get the money? It could be one or more people. If by chance you open your 401k or your IRA or your insurance product and you fail to list your beneficiary and there is none, well then the will would take over at that point. Now ideally you don't want that to happen. So if you have any of those products or accounts, IRA, 401k, life insurance, anything like that, make sure you get with whoever helped you set it up and make sure there's a beneficiary. And make sure it's the beneficiary you want, right? And that can change.
And to that end, I think you would agree, Dave, we recommend to all of our clients that you check those beneficiaries on a yearly basis just to make sure nothing's changed. And to your point, if you want to change, from 40% to 1%, that may be something you want to do.
Which I've done for him a couple times. Sometimes Chase was 40%, and then just with the stroke of a pen in a new document, a change of beneficiary form, I can drop him down to 1%. So you can do that too.
Yep,
right?
exactly.
So, we're having fun with it, but you want to change. Things in life change.
Exactly.
And the beneficiaries may change, and it's a very easy process. Now that's IRAs, 401ks, life insurance, annuities. Right? On the other side of the coin, and this is what we talk about where people get tripped up. Other accounts, so what would they be? They would be like your bank accounts. Or let's say an investment account that wasn't a retirement account. Right? That's just a joint account. Right? Or it might be an account only in your name. Those actually don't ask for beneficiaries. And what that means is if you leave it like that and you pass, then what happens is the will decide who gets the money. And you may not be able to access that money until the will has gone through probate and now it can be dispersed. That can take 6 months sometimes. So there's a way around that, right? And the way around that is all of those accounts you can ask, but you often have to know to ask, don't you, Chase?
You have to be proactive.
Yeah, you be proactive. That's a great way to say it. And you go to the bank or you go to the investment company and say, look, I would like to fill out a T as in Tom, TOD form. That's short for transfer on death. It could also be, what was the other one?
POD, P like Paul.
Yes, and that's for pay on death. Different institutions call it different things. It's just a form, kind of like a beneficiary form that says, if I die, this person is basically inheriting this account immediately. Now, those accounts, your bank accounts, your investment accounts, now they also bypass the will, and the person can immediately get with it. And I'll tell you, we learned this, my brother and I, which is my brother Andy's Chase's dad, learned this the hard way. Our stepfather, he had told us when he was sick, he said, don't worry, I've got a power of attorney listing you boys so you can get into my bank accounts if necessary to pay my bills while I'm sick, which was wonderful and it was helpful. But what he didn't know, and at the time we didn't know, is the minute Warren passed away, the power of attorney is void, right? So then he passed, we went to his account to pay some bills, we could no longer get into it because the power of attorney was no good and he didn't have a TOD form, Chase.
Right.
Now we had to wait months to go through the will and the probate process just to access his money to pay his bills.
Yep, and to that point, Dave, I mean, we see it every day, right? Where, you know, when an unfortunate situation like that happens, when someone passes, there's quite a bit of loose ends to tie up. The bills don't stop, unfortunately, right? Some of the bills, I would say, don't stop. There's quite a bit of things that you have to do, possibly funeral, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of loose ends to tie up kind of immediately. So these TOD or POD forms really help with expediting the heirs to getting those funds to pay for those bills or pay for whatever's necessary.
Yeah, there's a lot of times stress in trying to find all the paperwork, right? So we've got a peace of mind checklist, and we'll put a link to that down the road. If you want one of our it lists about everything you can imagine that you would want your heirs to know where it is, like your will, and like your bank accounts and things like that, so they could just give them one document, they could go down the checklist and find it. If you want that, you know, click one of the links below, we can get one to you. Let's close out with that. I think it's a good point today. The takeaway is your accounts that are not retirement accounts, check to see if they have a TOD form on file, right, or a POD form, depending on what the institution has. So if you have any other questions, just reach out to us. We can help you with that.
Yep, and
any other topics, right?
Yes. Sorry, Splice. Hey, so thanks for joining us today. Click the button below, like and subscribe, and also leave any comments if you would like us to make another video, discuss a specific topic that you all would like us to talk about.
Yeah, love to do that.